Today we're going to talk about one from the terribly named Limited Run series. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. And this is all thanks to that TikTok auction. It's the other Holy model, the Holy Explorer. So we did have a little bit of a preview when we reviewed the Holy Flying V. It was the sister model to this one. But the Holy Flying V was within the Guitar of the Month series, which followed up the Guitar of the Week series. But in 2009, they did something called the Limited Run series, which is just so terribly named because every limited edition has limited in their name, so it makes it very hard to Google. But if you take a look at one of their COAs, it tells you they made a maximum of 350 of each of these. Supposedly no more, no less, but that's not necessarily true for all of them. But it states there's 22 models, of which I cannot find a complete documented list online. So I might need your guys' help to make a video kind of like I did for Guitar of the Week and Guitar of the Month, where we talk about every single one. I was able to find 11. The Holy Explorer, there's the Autumnburst Carvetop SG, as well as the Oceanblue Burst version. There's a limited edition Nighthawk. Of course, you can't forget about the Gibson Eye, and another cool one I don't want to talk about till I review it. There's the Florentine cut Les Paul that I have reviewed. I just didn't realize it was part of this series. The Grabber 2. The Tribal Explorer and Flying V were a part of this. And then there's an interesting Goldtop with a maple neck, Piezos, and EMGs that I just learned about this morning and was like, oh, okay, it's part of this. So that's 11 models. If you know of the other 11, please fill me in. But for today, we need to talk about the very first one of this series, the Holy Explorer. So, as the name implies, it's an Explorer and it's got holes cut out of it. It's very interesting. It's essentially just one of the faded Explorers that they customized. And if you don't know what I mean by faded, it means we have a thin satin finish. This isn't a full-on gloss. So it's a little bit cheaper for them to produce. These things were not all that expensive brand new. In fact, I found the original receipt in the case from Amazon and he paid just slightly under 800 bucks for it. Nowadays, you can't get them for under 2,500. I don't think it's as cool as the limited edition Holy Flying V because we don't have any binding on our fretboard. It's just regular rosewood with dot inlays instead of fancy inlays in ebony. At least we do have the Gibson Mother of Pearl logo on the headstock, so it's got that going for it. But again, they made 350 of these, and they all have a limited edition stamp on the backside of their headstock, as well as a regular serial number. So it's not everybody's favorite model, but it's so quirky and weird, I just happen to like it. So we're going to document it for the second time, now that I finally understand the backstory of the model. But as I was saying earlier, I got this from that TikTok auction that we've talked about a few times, and I was gutted to not see the COA in here. But that's the nice thing about these Gibson USA. They don't typically have COAs, so if you're missing it on one of these, it doesn't affect the value as much. It's just a nice bonus to have. But here you can see some of the other original paperwork that I've got going for this one, and a bonus strap. So to learn more about this particular guitar, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside the Holy Explorer, the condition of this one actually ended up being quite good. Everything you bought at that auction was as is, and they didn't really have the best of photos to judge condition. Pretty much the worst thing I found was right here. Looks like somebody used a setup tool and marred the finish a little bit. Other than that, it really did clean up great, so I'm just going to hold this one back in my collection until maybe I find one that still has a COA and is equally as clean. But the pickups in this one. So the Flying V had a 57 Classic, and even in that review I said, you know, that's kind of strange, you would think they would have a hot ceramic pickup in there, so maybe people were saying the same thing back then because they listened for the Holy Explorer. This is the 496R ceramic pickup in the neck, and the bridge your usual partner with that, the 500T. These were uncovered from the factory. However, in that demo, that 57 Classic sounded great, so we'll have to see how these ones are. Within the circuit, 14.63 in the bridge, neck position, 8.28, and the middle for fun, 5.41. The neck pickup route has SC, likely for satin cherry, and we do have a long neck tenon construction. And our bridge pickup route says DS for Designer Series HX Holy Explorer. As far as your bridge and tailpiece goes, it's just your regular Nashville style, API branded in the center there, and the regular full weight tailpiece of the era. Our controls are very basic on this, one single master volume. You do not have a tone control. But since we've got 2 pickups, we have to have a toggle switch as well, and our output jack is located on the side over here. It would have been interesting had they had still left a pick guard on this, and then cut holes out of the guard too. Your holes do have a black paint in them, so it helps it not stand out as much if it was still the raw mahogany. The downside to that is dust does accumulate in there, but I've just cleaned this one out. But looking around the edges, we can see a body seam line right there, so at least 2 pieces. But there's another one on the other side, so it is a 3-piece mahogany body with visual weight relief, because this is kind of similar to ultra modern weight relief in a roundabout way, except for normally you don't go all the way through the back and you slap a maple top over it when you're building a Les Paul anyways, so it's one of the few weight relieved Explorers out there. But moving on from our body, we've got a regular mahogany neck with our rosewood fretboard, which needed some serious help. I don't think it had ever been conditioned, so it darkened up a lot during that process. I gave the Dremel technique another try, so we'll have to see how that goes. So far, the results look pretty good. Also, thankfully, this guitar must not have been in that collector's set for very long, because I don't see any humidity or moisture damage related things to this one. It's got the typical 24 3/4 inch scale length and a 12-inch fretboard radius, but 1.69 inches is our nut width. That increases to 2.07 by the 12th. We've got a first fret neck depth of 0.87, and that increases to 0.9 by the 12th. Honestly, those numbers are a little bit deceiving. It definitely feels a little bit thinner than what they represent. Here's that neck profile at the 1st fret and the 12th fret. It's more so a 60s slim, rounded shape. As far as the headstock goes, truss rod cover, it's just your basic Gibson USA one. Here's what we got for the truss rod. And then we have mini Growler tuners with our mother of pearl Gibson logo. Remember, this is a satin finish. It's naturally going to get buffed up and glossy. That's why I chose not to do any polishing or anything to this. Even the light wipe down I did, I was very slow, because since it's more of a collector's piece for me, I don't want any of that buffing to happen. Outside of that mark and maybe a few light impressions here or there, this is so far a surviving example. Moving on to the back, it pretty much looks the same as the top, except for we have a little route back here. Just like the Holy Flying V, the solder work is not the best we've seen out of Gibson, but to be fair, they're working in very tight corners here. But then you can see where the output jack goes through this route until we finally get to the mounting plate on the side. Now, the only replaced part on this are our strap lock buttons. I thought about changing them to OEM style, but when I took the screw out, the button was just stuck to it, so it's like, ah man, that'd be my luck. I give it a light tap with a hammer, it would just bring the whole finish up with it. And they're such large profile strap buttons, I'd probably be left with an impression anyway, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. But no crazy side routes on this guy. We can move up the back of the neck, nice tight wood grain on this mahogany, until we get to our Made in USA 2009 stamp, 247 out of the 350 made. The neck was stamped in very early March, 65th day of the year. And there's our regular Growler tuners. We don't have to worry about those freaky gearless Steinbergers on this one. But all said and done, our weight relieved Explorer weighs 6 pounds, 4.3 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. You guys, but I really dig that middle position and neck on this. For being a really hot 496R, it does clean tones surprisingly well. But you can tell that bridge really wants to sing. I mean, just listen to how distorted it can get. That's the clean channel. The neck pickup will do the same thing. These are very touch sensitive, or you could just roll down your volume control. But now let's do what it's made for. Now that we know all about the Holy Explorer, what are my final thoughts on this thing? I had just as much fun the second time as I did the first time I reviewed this a couple of years ago. It might not be that much, but honestly, these Faded series guitars are a lot of fun because of how thin the finish is. They usually have a very nice resonancy to it, but these 496R 500T pickups, they're very hot, but yet they sound good clean as well. You just kind of gotta dial it back a bit. So if you're looking for the more aggressive side of things, definitely go for the Explorer, but if you want a little bit more traditional classic rock tones, that's when I would say go for the Crazy Flying V. I'm plenty happy adding this one to my collection. It might not be 100% perfect, but it's about the cleanest one I've seen in a while. But now I've got a new project to find all the 2009 limited run models. So Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed learning about this guitar today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.